Okay. Hey! Okay, bola ko, di ko kasali. Hey guys, we're Seth and Annika, and welcome back to our channel. So if you're new here, press the subscribe button there, and press the bell button beside it so you get notified when we post a new video.
Today it's Thursday, so it's True Crime Thursday. So every Thursday we come here, sit down, talk about a true crime story that we found interesting. So if you like that, you can stay. If you don't, it's okay.
So for today's story, we'll talk about the man who killed Versace, Andrew Cunanan. But before we start, we just like to remind you that this is a true crime channel and we will talk about murders and the facts of the case. We will also show some pictures that might be too disturbing for you, so viewer discretion is advised. Andrew Cunanan was born on August 31, 1969 in San Diego, California. His parents were both immigrants, so his dad, Modesto, was from the Philippines and his mom, Mary Ann, was an Italian. So Modesto and Mary Ann had 4 children and Andrew was the youngest. Modesto served in the army and after that he became a stockbroker. So that's what made him rich after the Vietnam War. So during his childhood, Andrew was very spoiled. Like his father viewed him as super special and he was the favorite child. Like, out of the 4 children, he was the only one who was given so much attention. At age 14, he was given a car, a sports car. And then, he was given the master's bedroom just because he wanted it. So his father was like, okay, you can have the master's bedroom. And out of all the 4 children, he was the only one who was enrolled in St. Bishop School, which was a school for very privileged and wealthy people.
I'm 14 and I don't have a car.
Can't even drive.
Vroom, vroom.
In school, he was remembered as super bright or like super smart. His IQ was said to be 147, or some say it was 142, but it was above 140, which was like genius. Yeah. So Andrew had photographic memory and he was able to memorize the encyclopedia at age 10. So he was really smart.
I can't even memorize the formulas in math.
So as a teenager, he was known to be very sociable, very talkable. That's not a word. Very talkative. But his classmates said that he was also a prolific liar. So he made up just about everything. He made up stories that would make him fit in, make him admired. Like one story, he said he was from a royal family in the Philippines. Yeah, he was Filipino, but he's not from a royal family, or maybe we just don't know. But he's not. You know, he just keeps on saying these stories just to make people like him and admire him. Yeah,
he loved the attention.
All eyes on me. And if forever's not enough for me to love you.
So after high school, he went to University of California for college and he majored in American history. So during his college times, his dad was involved in very, very shady deals until he was caught and charged for embezzlement. So his dad, instead of waiting for the sentencing, he just left. He evaded the police and left his family and went to the Philippines. So this hurt Andrew a lot because he saw his dad as a very powerful, very rich man. He didn't want to see his dad the way he did when his dad left. So because of what happened, he dropped out of college and he followed his dad to the Philippines. And when he got to the Philippines, he saw his dad living in this poor neighborhood and he became very disappointed. Because his dad was the complete opposite from what he had shown Andrew when he was in the States. Andrew also thought that if you were wealthy, you are also worthy, you are valuable. So like he equaled wealth to worth. And when he saw his dad in that state, he just didn't like it. So he went back to the States after staying in the Philippines for a month. So after the encounter and his dad abandoning him, he started to become violent. There was a time where him and his mom fought, and due to his violent behavior, he threw his mom so hard that he dislocated her shoulder. He then moved to San Francisco, California, and when he was in high school, he started to befriend older wealthy men. So, and then when he moved to San Francisco, he continued to befriend and mingle with those wealthy older men. And he would do that for their money. Like he just did that to be rich. And he would mostly socialize in Hillcrest or La Jolla, the rich places, the rich neighborhoods, because most rich men are there. So when he was socializing in those rich neighborhoods, he had some aliases. Some examples are Andrew De Silva, Drew Cunningham, Kurt Matthew DeMorris, but he had more. He had a lot. Around that time, he started to use and deal drugs.
How can you keep up with your names?
I don't know.
Today I'm
Andrew De Silva, and
tomorrow
then
I'm
Kurt.
Oh. See? We can even be sabay. So during those socializing times, they believe that in October of 1990, Andrew and Gianni Versace met in one of the theater. I am so cultured. In one of the in one of the productions in that area.
Theater.
Why is the world so cruel to me right now? I just want to talk. But the family continues to deny that there was any interaction between the two. So they still believe that whatever happened in the story that we'll say was random. So in late 1995, Andrew met this guy named David Manson. So David Manson is an architect based in Minnesota who was in San Francisco for a while. And they met in this bar and kind of hit it off, Hello. And then, stop. And then, let me continue my story. Guys, sorry. We're so sorry. So they were together. After a few months, or almost a year after, David Madson thought like, oh, this guy's kind of shady. I don't like to be with him anymore. So, because Andrew was being deceitful with David, and David still didn't want that Andrew was sleeping around or like talking to older men, for cash. So he stopped the long distance relationship that he had because, David was in Minnesota, Andrew was in California, so it's very long distance. And actually, I don't know how far Minnesota is from California.
We're from the Philippines.
It's just long distance. So after his breakup with David, Andrew had another relationship with this older wealthy man who was his host and who was financially supporting him. But he broke it off. Cunanan broke it off with this guy. But what he did was he maxed out his credit cards. So what the heck? What? After that, because he had no support anymore, he resumed selling drugs and using drugs. So some friends say that Andrew was really abusing the drugs. So Andrew also met a guy named Jeff Trail. He was from the Navy, I think, or something military. They became super close because in the military, they didn't, gays were not, acknowledged. And if you say you're gay, you're out. Jeff Trail and Andrew became close because Jeff was, my name is Jeff. Jeff was amazed with how Andrew, really embraced his sexuality. So they became close, but like the other men, Jeff noticed something shady. And then afterwards, Jeff also moved to Minnesota. And there, he met David Madson. So they had something in common, which was they knew Andrew. So they became close. And when Andrew heard this, he went bonkers. Why are you leaving me out of this friendship? God! So he got mad. Oh my gosh, he got mad. So after that, he called David. Okay, hey David, I'm coming over. Let's meet up. I'm going to Minneapolis. So he went to Minneapolis and visited David. And then when he got there, he called Jeff. And then he said, hey Jeff, we'll come over to your place. I'm with David. So he went to Jeff's apartment. So they, talked a bit and then they left. And then Andrew was staying in Jeff's apartment the whole time while Jeff and his boyfriend went somewhere. But Jeff said, "Oh, I have to go back because I have to talk to Andrew." So Jeff and David went back to Andrew and they talked. But what happened was, when they were talking, Jeff and Andrew had an argument. And Andrew started beating Jeff in the head. So he died.
With a hammer.
Yeah, with a hammer, and he died. And then what Andrew did was he rolled Jeff in the carpet and left him there. And then after that, he took the gun of Jeff and left with Madsen. So Madsen was there. They were riding Madsen's red Chevy. Authorities at first thought that Madsen was a suspect in the murder of Jeff. But as time went on, they believed that Madsen was also a hostage of Andrew and was just afraid that Andrew will kill him as well. So he just went with it. And a few days later, they saw the body of Madsen near a lake in Rush City with bullets at the back of the head. What Andrew did was he took the car of David and he fled.
So after he left Madsen's body, he took Madsen's car and left for Chicago to go to his third victim. His third victim was Lee Miglin, who was a very famous, very prominent, very successful real estate developer. When he got to Lee Miglin's house, he murdered him by stabbing him with a screwdriver 20 times and slitting his throat with a hacksaw. So after a few days, the wife found the body in the detached garage, and the state that Miglin's body was in was his hands and his feet were tied together. There was 2 cement bags on his chest to weigh him down so he wouldn't stand up. And there was duct tape and plastic bags over his head. But there were holes for his nostrils. So they thought that the holes were there so that Miglin would stay alive while the killer was killing him. So after further investigation, they determined that Andrew was taking his time staying in their house because he ate a ham sandwich in their library, he took a bath and shaved his face in the bathroom, he even slept in their bed. He really did take his time. These evidence strongly suggest that it was not a random killing, because another thing was there was no evidence or signs of forced entry, so they thought or they believed that Miglin knew the person and was willingly letting them in their house. And also because he took his time in the house, which they believed was because Andrew knew that Miglin's wife was away for a while and wasn't going to come back anytime soon. So when he left, he took $10,000 in cash and a few suits of Miglin's, and he also took Miglin's car because they saw that one of Miglin's cars were missing in his garage, and they also found Madsen's car nearby the residence.
From what I read, they said it wasn't a random killing also because there was a motive. They believe that Lee Miglin was kasi the perfect example of the American dream who came from nothing and then became very successful. So Andrew was envious of that, or
Jealous.
Yeah, he wanted to have the power over this type of person. So he targeted Lee Miglin and, stopped being successful.
They also found out that Miglin was interacting or having some interactions with men, and he was keeping that a secret from his wife. So they thought that Andrew might be one of the men he was interacting with. That's why he was willingly letting him in the house. So after Lee Miglin, he went to New Jersey, and his fourth victim was named William Reese. William Reese was it was just random. It wasn't planned. He was just at the wrong place at the wrong time. So unfortunately, he was killed. He was killed just for his truck because Andrew wanted to get his truck. So later that day, his wife got very worried and suspicious because William hasn't come home for dinner. So he called the police, and that's when the police came to where William was and saw his body there on the floor. So then Andrew was staying in Miami in this very cheap hotel, and Since the police were focusing on William's truck, they didn't track him down. He was able to hide in plain sight because Andrew was not using the truck, so it was just there. Andrew was also pawning some stuff in pawn shops in his actual name, even though he knew that police would check the pawn shop records regularly.
On July 14, Andrew had nothing to spend already, so he decided to leave the hotel and check out, but he wasn't able to pay for the last night anymore. And then the next morning at 8:45 a.m., it was the fateful morning for Gianni Versace. So on this day, Gianni decided, it looks like such a nice day. Like,
the weather is very nice today.
Yeah. So what he said was, okay, I'll go and get the paper. I want to do it today. Such a bad decision. Like, why on this day?
Could have been tomorrow.
And then when he got to his front gate, he took the newspaper and then decided to buy a coffee and something from a stand in front of his house. After that newspaper run, he went back to his gate, and that was where, on the steps, Andrew was waiting and shot him at the back of the head. And just to make sure, Andrew went closer and shot him by the cheek, which just to make sure that he's really dead. So people believe that the motive behind this murder was because Andrew really looked up to Gianni. Like, he was his idol. But since he couldn't be that, to feel power, he killed Gianni. And then after the murder of Gianni, he went to a Miami boathouse. Like, there was a boat. Yeah, 30 or 40 blocks away, there was a boathouse. He snuck in and stayed there for around 8 days. There, he used drugs. He did everything, and like, it was super messy when they found it. There's a video actually of the state of the house when they found it. We can link it down below so you can see. But on your own risk. And then the caretaker of the boathouse was passing by doing some checks, and then noticed that the locks were undone. So he checked inside, and he heard a gunshot. When he was inside, he saw that there were sandals, the sofa was made into a bed, things like that. So he knew that someone was in there. And then he called the police and said, oh, there's someone in here. So the police went in, the SWAT team went in. On July 23, 1997, the police found Andrew Cunanan's body in the second floor of the boathouse, on the bed with a gunshot wound to his head. So he killed himself after hiding for 8 days. But this was different from the usual pattern that he does, because in the previous killings, he would kill and then flee. So in this particular scenario, he killed Gianni and then stayed around Miami, actually very near Gianni's house, or the scene of the crime, in the scene of the crime, and ended his life in that area. So they found no suicide note beside Andrew, so there was no reason, or they didn't really know what the reason was for him killing himself. But they say that it was because Andrew lost the control over his life. He doesn't have any grasp anymore on what will happen if ever he gets caught, so he just decided to end it.
So his motives remain unknown, but some would say that it was to get back the power he lost when his dad abandoned him, and when he received all of these rejections, like from the love of his life and from Jeff, like that. So he just wanted to regain the power he had before everything went down. And also, when they searched the area where he was, they saw this black book that had pictures and names of all of these celebrities he was idolizing. There was Madonna, Leonardo DiCaprio. So it could have been easily any of those celebrities. But unfortunately, it was Gianni that was crossed out of the list. He was the one who was X'd out. So even though he had multiple killings, he wasn't categorized as a serial killer, but instead as a spree killer. So the difference between a serial killer and a spree killer is serial killers take their time, and they also plan out how they would kill their victims, and they don't leave any tracks. While spree killers, they don't care whatever they do. They don't really plan it out. They just go bang, bang, bang. Even though they leave tracks, they don't clean it up. They just leave it. Another thing is, spree killers kill in a short period of time in multiple locations, while serial killers take their time in killing. So sometimes it would take months or even years before they kill another victim. So that's why he's categorized as a spree killer and not a serial killer.
So that was the very frustrating case of Andrew Cunanan, the man who killed Gianni Versace. Versace's on the floor now.
No.
Okay, so it's very frustrating because we don't know the motive, we don't know why he killed himself, we don't know why he killed all those people. We can always infer or guess, but we can't really know because yun nga, he's dead already. We can't confirm. No one can confirm but him. So you guys, what do you think is the motive of Andrew Cunanan in killing everyone? So if you have any ideas, you can comment down below. And let us know what you think. And if you like this video, please press the like button down there. Yeah, you're gonna do it.
If you don't like it,
It's okay.
it's okay.
It's fine. You can't please everyone. But if you want to see more of these videos, please press. Press the subscribe
Press it.
button. And yeah.
So thanks for hanging out with us. See you next Thursday.
Bye.
I should be over all the butterflies. But
Okay,
I
go.
mean, okay.
Ingay!
Rah, rah, rah.